Hello, I had tongue-tied. False Dawn, Edith Wharton. Chapter 2. In spite of his enforced portations, Lewus was up the next morning before sunrise. Unlashing his shutters without noise, he looked forth over the wet lawn, merging in a blur of strawberries, and the waters of the Sound dimly seen beneath a sky full of stars. His head ached, but his heart glowed. What was before him was thrilling enough to clear a heavier brain than his. He dressed quickly and completely, save for his shoes, and then, stripping the flowered quilt from his high mahogany bed, rolled it in a tight bundle under his arm. Thus enigmatically equipped, he was feeling this way, shoes in hand, through the darkness of the upper story to the slippery oak stairs, where he was startled by a candle gleam in the pitch blackness of the hall below. He held his breath. Oh, by the way, evidently she was known for ghost stories. I'm sure this isn't a ghost story, but I wanted to tell you because I have a TBI and I might forget. So I try to tell what I remember when I remember it. Darkness of the upper story to the slippery oak stairs, where he startled by a candle gleam in the pitch dark blackness of the hall below. He held his breath, leaning over the stair rail, saw with amusement his sister Mary Adele come forth cloaked in bonnet, but also in stockinged feet, from the passage leading to the pantry. She, too, carried a double burden, her shoes and a candle in one hand, in the other a large covered basket that weighed down her bare arm. Brother and sister stopped and stared at each other in the blue dust, and the upward slant of the candle lit distorted Mary Adeline's mild features, twisting them into a frightening grin as Lewus stole down to join her. "Oh," she whispered. "What in the world are you doing here?" "I was just getting together a few things for that poor young Mrs. Poe down the lane, who's so ill before mother goes to the storeroom. You won't tell, will you?" Lewus signaled his complicity and cautiously slid open the bolt in the front door. They durst not say more till they were out of earshot, so it must mean they should not. I don't think I've ever seen durst written that way. Anyway, on the doorstep, they sat down to put on their shoes. Then they hastened on without word through the ghostly shrubberies till they reached the gate into the lane. "But you, Lewus," the sister suddenly questioned, with an astonished stare at the rolled-up quilt under her brother's arm. "Oh, I? Look here, Addie." He broke off and began to grope in his pocket. "I haven't much about me. The old gentleman keeps me as close as ever. But here's $1. If you think that poor Mrs. Poe could use it, I'd be too happy consider it a privilege. Oh, Lewis, Lewis, how noble, how generous you are. Of course, I can buy a few extra things with it. They never see meat unless I can bring them a bit. And I fear she's dying of a decline. And she and her mother are so fiery proud. She wept with gratitude, and Lewis drew a breath of relief. He had diverted her attention from the bedquilt. Ah, there's the breeze, he murmured, sniffing a suddenly chilled air. Yes, I must be off. I must be back before the sun is up, said Mary Adeline anxiously. And it would never do if Mother knew. She doesn't know of your visits to Mrs. Pope. A look of childish guile sharpened Mary Adele's underdeveloped face. She does, of course, but yet she doesn't. We're arranged it so, you see. Mrs. Poe's an atheist, and so, Father... I see, Lewis said. Well, we part here. I'm off for a swim, he said guiltily. But abruptly he turned back and caught his sister's arm. Sister, tell Mrs. Poe, please, that I heard her husband give a reading from his poems in New York 2 nights ago. Oh, Lewis, you... Father says he's a blasphemer, and that's his great poem, the great poem. Tell her that from me, will you? Please, Mary Adele? Oh, brother, I couldn't. We never speak of him. And startled girl flattered, hurried away. In the cove where the Commodore's slope had ridden a few hours earlier, a biggish rowboat took the waking ripples. Young Racine paddled out to her, fastened his skiff to the moorings, and hastily clambered into the boat. From various receipts in his pockets, he produced rope, string, carpet layers, needle, and other unexpected and incongruous tackle. Then lashing one of the oars across the top of the other, the jamming of later upright between the forward throth and the bow, he rigged the flowered bed quilt on this mass, knotted a row to the free end of the quilt, and sat down in the stern, one hand on the rudder and the other on his improvised sheet. Venice, brooding silverly about a line of pale green sky, made a pool glory in the sea as the dawn breeze plumped the lover's sail. On the shivering pebbles of another cove 2 or 3 miles down the sound, Lewis lowered his queer sail and beached his boat. A clump of willows on the shingle side mysteriously stirred and parted, and Tracy Kent was in his arms. The sun was just pushing above a belt of low clouds in the east, spattering them with liquid gold, and Venus blanched as the light spread upward. But under the willows it was still dusk, a watery green dusk, in which the secret murmurs of the night were caught. Trishy, Trishy, the young man cried, kneeling beside her, and then, a moment later, my angel, are you sure there that no one guesses? The girl gave a faint laugh, which screwed up her face, her funny nose. She leaned her head on his shoulder, her round forehead, rough braids pressed against his cheek. Her hands in his, breathing quickly and joyfully. I thought I should never get here, Lewis grumbled, with that ridiculous bed quilt, and it'll be broad daylight soon. To think that I was the age yesterday and must come to you in a boat rigged like a child's toy on a duck pond. If you knew how it humiliates me. What does it matter, dear? Since you're of age now, your old master. Kitten, no. But I am, though, he said so. But it's only on his own terms, only while I do what he wants, you see. I have a credit of $10,000. $10,000. Do you hear? Placed to my name in a London bank and not a penny here. To bless myself with meanwhile. Why, Treshy, darling? Why? What's the matter? She flung her arms about his neck. Kitty. And though their innocent kisses, through his innocent kisses, she... Kitten, please, I'm trying to read here, baby. I'm trying to read. Taste her tears. What is it, Tracy employed? I've forgotten. It was to be our last day together till you spoke of London. Cruel, cruel, she reproached him. And though the green light of the willows, her eyes blazed on him like two stormy stars. No other eyes, he knew, could express such element rage as Tracy's. You little spitfire, you, he laughed. Back somehow, somewhere, chokingly. Yes, it's our last day, but not for long. At our age, 2 years are not so very long after all, are they? And when I come back to you, I'll come as my own master, independent, free, come to claim you in face of everything and everybody. Think of that, darling, and have brave for my sake. Be brave for my sake. Patient, as I mean to be, he declared heroically. Oh, but you'll see other girls, heaps and heaps of them, in those wicked old countries where they're so lovely. My Uncle Kent says the European countries are all wicked, even my own poor Italy. But you, Tracy, you'll be seeing cousins Bill and Donald, meanwhile, and seeing them all day long and every day, and you know you're a weakness for that great hulk of a Bill. Ah, if only I stood 6'1" in my stockings, I'd go with an easier heart. You fickle child, he said, tried to banter her. Fickle, fickle, me, oh, Lewis. He felt the premonitory sweep of sobs, and his untried courage failed him. It was delicious in theory. Kitty, I can't see over you. He tried to banter her. Okay. Wait, no, I can't see. You have to get down. Yeah, sit on Theodore's head. That's a good place. There came a responsive twitching in his throat. No, firm as adamant. true as steel. That's what we both mean to be, isn't it, Kara? Kara, yes. She sighed, appeased. And you'll write to me regularly, Trushy? Long and long letters? I may count on that, maybe, mayn't I? Wherever I am. And they must all be remembered, every one of them. So that I shall know at once if I missed one, remember? And Lewus, Theodore. And Lewis, you wear them here? She touched his breast. Oh, not at all, she added, laughing, for they're made such a big bundle that you'd soon have a lump in front of your pulcinella. But always at least the last one. Just the last one, promise? Always, I promise. As long as they're kind, he said, still struggling to take a spirited line. Oh, Lewis, they will be as long as yours are. And long afterward, Venice failed and vanished in the sun's uprising. End of chapter 2.